Hi, this is David Bliven, Bronx and Westchester divorce attorney with another episode of Lessons from the Divorce Wars. So this is a very good lesson. I've touched on this theme somewhat before, but I really want to hammer it home today. Do not wait to hire a divorce attorney, especially if your case becomes contested. I've had a few people come in for consultations. One actually ended up hiring me when the case was already scheduled for trial. I've had a few people come in for consultations and they say, my case is scheduled for trial next week or in the next few days or something like that. Pretty pleased with the cherry on top. Can you be my divorce attorney? Well, there's many problems with this thought process. A lot of people, they might have an attorney at the beginning and they see, we just seem to keep showing up for these court conferences with a judge and there's really not all that much that's said and, it seems boring and I don't really see my attorney doing all that much of anything vis-a-vis the judge or the opposing attorney. So, I can kind of handle this myself. It doesn't really seem all that complicated, so let me discharge my attorney and I'll just hire somebody else, if and when the case goes to trial. Well, that may make sense to the uninformed, but here's the problem. So there are disclosure rules that people have to comply with. There's a preliminary conference order, there's demands for discovery and inspection, there's deposition notices, etc., etc. There's evidence that has to be gathered and exchanged with the other side. There's, especially if the case is getting closer to a trial, there's proposed statements of disposition that have to be prepared. There's witness and exhibit lists that have to be exchanged. A lot of times if you're dealing with business records that you want to enter into evidence, you're well advised to do a notice to admit, more than 30 days or no later than 20 days before a trial. All that needs to be done. If you don't know how to do it and you wait until a month or 2 or even 3 months before trial, you're putting that prospective attorney that you're looking to now hire at the last minute in a very dangerous situation. They're not going to be adequately prepared for your case. They're going to do their best, we'll do our best, given the hand dealt to us, but don't expect miracles. If you had discovery deadlines and those have already passed and now you're trying to conjure up documents to produce to the other side, don't expect your attorney to work miracles. I had a client several years ago hire me for a case that had already been scheduled for a trial, less than a couple weeks away. I stepped in and I tried to get the judge to admit into evidence his documents of what he had in his retirement accounts prior to the date of marriage, because generally speaking, you get to back that out. Problem is the judge rightly said, look, your client had to exchange all that in pretrial disclosure. He didn't do it. So now I'm not going to give him that credit. Oops, you just missed out on tens of thousands of dollars in credits that you should have gotten because you didn't know what you were doing and you didn't hire an attorney with adequate enough time to exchange that disclosure and get ready for trial. Oh well, that guy got screwed, and there's there's nothing that I can do to help you at that point. Johnny Cochran came back from the dead. He can't help you either. If you just miss that discovery deadline, then it's completely up to the judge, and don't count on the judge granting that because the other side's going to object, and they have good reason to. So, the real lesson here is if you have children at stake, you're looking at contesting custody or visitation on the one hand, and or you have assets or property at stake, or you're getting sued for, or you're prosecuting a case of spousal maintenance, otherwise known as alimony. There's enough at stake here. Hire a good attorney right from the beginning. Keep a good attorney at all times. Even if the court hearings seem boring and nothing's going on, you need that attorney at your side every step of the way. So if you're looking for similar answers to questions like this, check out my blog. You'll find it at blivenlaw.net/blog. See you next time.